Hi, welcome to the Chad Bozarth Show. Thanks for listening. Jacob!
What's up, dude? How you doing?
Hey, you're in a sound booth, man. That looks awesome.
I mean, okay, I am in my sound booth, but I'm actually in a closet, just like you. It's a little walk-in closet in the office of my house that I use as my office, and I did kind of convert it into a little I sound treated it, you know.
Oh man, that's awesome. Maybe you can share some of your secrets to like soundproof a room because I need to do that.
Honestly, like through my headphones, which are pretty good headphones, you're sounding pretty good. I do hear a little bit of room noise, but what you got going on with the clothes and everything like that, like behind my blankets here are boxes that they're cardboard boxes, but I also have coats here, and that helps with the wall. But so does this moving blanket here. So yeah.
Well, you sound great, man. Well,
Oh,
okay.
thanks.
Jacob, should I call you Jake or Jacob?
Okay, so that's the funny thing, like, because you and I are friends, and I think when I introduced myself, way back in 2010. I introduced myself as Jacob, but that's like just my whole life I've introduced myself as Jacob. But when it comes to voiceover, I decided to kind of go the route of Jake, just because that's kind of fun, and for kind of branding purposes, I don't really focus on like my brand, but just because I do have a website and I do kind of want it to be engaging, I decided to call my website That's Jake's Voice. That's better than That's Jacob's Voice, but That's Jake's Voice. It works. And a lot of my friends do call me Jake. You know what I mean? And it doesn't bother me. I'll totally answer to it. It's just I've been so used to introducing myself as Jacob that now I'm slowly like starting to introduce myself as Jake, especially in the voiceover world, like when I go to conferences and stuff like that.
Dude, that is awesome. That is great. So, how long do we go back to 2010?
Yeah, so you and I met at Nancy Chartier's acting class at React when I think she was working with Michelle Condrey at the time, but Nancy had a class of her own that she would do on certain nights. And I was pointed in that direction from my agent, and I think you were there the very first time I went to one of Nancy's classes as a student, not to watch, because I think you had to like audit one before you could go. But anyway, you were there, and then you and I obviously quickly hit it off, just because I feel like we're easygoing guys and we like to talk to people. And then you like it wasn't like a week or two after that, I think, that you were like, "Yo, I'm doing this show over at this local theater, and we need some people." And I said, "All right." And so I started coming to rehearsals, and then you and I just became even better friends, and we've been friends ever since. We've got to perform together in multiple things, not just on stage, but in a couple of independent stuff, and it's been great, dude.
Man, those are great memories. I
Oh,
have,
100%.
man, I love those moments and I love live theater
Mm-hmm.
and just I love that nervous energy when you're about to go on stage and you're like, okay, there is no cut on this. Like
Right.
it's sink or swim. Like if you mess up, you just have to roll with it. I love that feeling.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like for me, getting out there on stage is it's kind of like an adrenaline, like a high you get, and then when and not only that, you feel it beforehand, when you go out on stage and getting ready to do that. But if you like execute and you execute well what you're supposed to do, that feeling after the fact, that applause you get, the laugh you get, or the emotions you might get out of the audience, depending on what you're doing on stage necessarily, that in itself is also that high, that nerve that adds to that nervousness because you want to be good and you want to, at least from my standpoint, like I want to be good. I want to be seen as like, oh, that was talented. It made me feel things or whatever. You know what I mean? I really, that's what I go for, and that's what stage gives me. So I totally agree with you in terms of like when you're going on stage, you're like, this is it. If I mess up, I mess up. You got to roll with the punches, and there is no cut, right? But I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I I love that feeling and I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry. I probably talked too much.
no, no, that's perfect. I love that feeling of just going for it and then whatever happens happens. And then after you do the shows with people for a while, I love that just the teamwork of working together for a common goal of executing something and
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows their role. That's one thing I notice what I love about the theater world is like everybody knows their role. Like you have the director, the set designer, whatever. It's like it's clear cut. Hey, this is the expectation, and this is what you do. And I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
love that instant feedback. That's what I was gonna say. So I want to ask you about voiceover before we get to that.
Okay.
Um, do you have any theater shows coming up?
Actually, yes. So, I haven't done. I did like a New Year's Eve thing, like from 2023 to 2024, like at the very end. I did like a New Year's Eve show for Repertory Company Theater there in Richardson or whatever. And then before that, I did Pirates of Penzance in like spring of 2022. So it's been a long time since I've done anything, but I'm actually going to be jumping into Legally Blonde here in a couple of months at Repertory Company Theater. And I'm excited. I'm a little nervous just because it's been a while since I've been on stage, but I feel like it'd be like riding a bike for me. I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be things. Obviously, I'm gonna have to like relearn and like oh yeah, I'll do this. But I've been preparing myself for a while, and I'm feeling confident, and I'm just looking forward to playing again with everybody. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. I love that show and you are going to do amazing. So,
I'm excited.
uh yeah, hopefully I can catch that one.
Oh, I hope so too, dude. Trust me. I think I am gonna put out like like a little thing for people if they want to come see it, just because I know it's gonna be fun and they're doing it at the Courtyard this year, so it's gonna be like a bigger stage, bigger audience possibilities too. So we're really looking forward to seeing the turnout too.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so thankful for Repertory Company Theater and so many opportunities they've given to me and just
100%.
the community atmosphere and how they really try to plug you in and try to make you look good. And I'm so thankful for that place and everyone there. And
Absolutely. Me too.
they've been a blessing to me.
Me too.
Um, okay. Jake, I want to ask you how did you get into voiceovers? Because man, you have been killing it lately, like Sonic, Marco's Pizza. I am amazed at the work that you're doing. And we go back, like you said, to 2010, and I know you've always been kind of like working on it a little bit, but how did you get into it, and how what would you attribute just kind of maybe your recent more, I guess I'll use the word success, but it just kind of seems like you've taken off, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a wild trip, for sure. I'm in my sixth year. I back when I did get an agent, which is around the time that you and I met, 2010, 2011, something like that. One of the things she asked me about was voiceover, and I said, "Oh, that would be cool." Because I mean, like I like commercials, and I'm familiar with things, especially like growing up, like the Geico commercial, obviously, and stuff like that with the lizard. And that was always interesting because it was a character, right? Like their spokesperson wasn't a real person; it was a lizard. So grew up with commercials. I like commercials. I was like, I didn't even think about that, and so my agent at the time sent me over to this guy named Bruce Carey. And he's in Dallas, and she was like, go do an evaluation, see what he thinks. And he had me read a script. He gave me some feedback. And ultimately, he was like, I think you could be really good at this. He's like, you do need some training, but who doesn't really, when you're just kind of starting new. But based on what I'm hearing, I feel like you could do this. And I thought that was cool. But at the time, I mean, like I was, what, 20 years old, 21 years old. I did not have a lot of money. And unfortunately, these things do kind of take a little bit of an investment. So I just wasn't there yet. So I just kind of put it on the back burner. Well, like fast forward to like 2017, 2018, and my dad was living in Alabama, and he called me up. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to try something this weekend and wanted to see what you thought about that." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, I found this guy that teaches like he's a voice actor, but he also like runs this like course where like I say course, it's like a class, like an 8 hour all day thing where people can come and learn about what voiceover is. And then like he gives them scripts and stuff to read and gives them some feedback. And then at the end, he would tell them if whether or not, he thought they could have a career in that, or at least he thought they should at least look into pursuing it, if it really did interest them. So my dad went up and did that. That was somewhere in Tennessee. Like I said, he was living in Alabama. It was like an hour drive north or something. So he did that, and he called me, and he was just telling me everything about what voiceover looked like. And this was in 2000, like I said, 2017, 2018, before the pandemic. But we were already getting to a point where voice acting was slowly kind of trickling into like doing an at-home thing too. Like people were learning because with like the advancement in like technology and computers and the access to equipment and stuff like that, people were starting to do stuff from their home, kind of like I'm doing right now. But that boom really happened during COVID just because out of a need. But even back then, it was starting to go that way. And so this guy, was talking about that and was giving advice on how you can build your own home booths and everything like that, and like maybe where you can start looking for jobs. And my dad was telling me about this, and I was like, you know what? I think I could do that. You know what I mean? Now, it wasn't right away that I started trying this, but about a year later, I just, things were going good in my life. I had just gone through some changes and positive changes. And I thought, you know what? I think I want to try something different because I was working at a private aviation company. I want to try something different. And I thought about back to the voiceover stuff. So I started doing that. I remember talking, I asked my dad again, and he gave me I think he gave me some resources that was sent to him from that class. And I looked those over. And I mean, like, I already had a mic. I just had to figure out how to, kind of sound treat a small space to try to get a good little recording area, how to, set up a DAW, or what we call a digital audio workstation, something like Adobe Audition, or like, your Audacities, your guitar, what's that app that comes on Apple
GarageBand.
GarageBand? Yeah, I mean that's essentially a DAW. You know what I mean? So just working how to basically make everything connect, and then start looking for jobs. And start finding out how to look for jobs. And initially, 2020 rolled around, and as awful as COVID was, it was really kind of a blessing for me because it allowed me to work from home because my work was like, we don't want you here, but we do need you to stay. So they made it so where we could work from home. But while I'm working at home, I got on a casting site it was called voices.com, and I got on there just with my minimal setup. I mean, I didn't have the best quality stuff, but I did have something. I got by. And I mean, I joined in February of 2020, and 2 weeks later, I booked my first job. It was a small little website video for a local school district here in Texas, Godly ISD. And then it just kind of took off from there. I mean, like, slowly building client lists, slowly getting more and more jobs. I mean, it was rough, it was rough for a while. In terms of bringing in money voiceover wise, there came a point in 2021 where I decided I was going to go full time just because me and my other job weren't really connecting anymore. So I left that job and took a risk on myself, and just kept trying it. I mean, over the years, I've gained agents, I've gained a client list, people that keep coming back to me, and I'm familiar with them. I have, and that's really the kind of the bread and butter of that stuff. But I mean, people just keep coming back, people coming back to me and like doing all sorts of things in voiceover, not just commercial, but there's corporate narration, there's e-learning. I've even done IVR, which I can't remember at the moment what it stands for, but it's essentially like your automated messages when you call businesses, and it's like, press one to
Oh.
like, we're not in right now, press one to do this or something like that. That kind of stuff. I've even done stuff like that. Now, as I have progressed, my client list has gotten bigger, and I'm getting better and better jobs. I do mostly focus on commercial. I will still do some e-learning and some corporate narration, especially for clients that I've maintained over the last couple of years. But yeah, commercial is where I like to live in voiceover wise. One, mainly because I feel like I'm good at it, and to kind of go back to what you were saying earlier with like Marcos and Sonic, yeah, that stuff just kind of seemed to take off just last year. You know, voiceover we talk about voiceover being more so a business than anything else, because I am running a business. Like, I'm offering a service. It's not like when we and I, because you and I did the acting circuit for a while, and you may still even do it. You go to a place to audition. Yeah, sometimes you do self tape, but if you book that job, you still got to go to set, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you still got to go through all that process. Through voiceover, it's literally like, keeping track of your auditions, keeping track of your clients. I mean, like, if you get repeat clients, like, they don't ask you to audition every time anymore. It just becomes like, some of them will add you to the payroll as, talent, or, voice talent, because you voice their learning projects. So now you're kind of an employee, or at least a contractor with that company. You know what I mean? So like, you are more of a business than anything else, mostly when you're a voice actor. You have to be your own bookkeepers and stuff. Like, you have to keep track of all these things, your taxes. I mean, like, obviously you should get a tax guy, in my opinion, but you know what I mean? Like, you have to keep track of all that stuff yourself, versus when you are just like an actor on TV or for film and stuff. Like, yeah, that it is a business there too, but it's not to the degree where you're going and getting your, like, I got an LLC for my voiceover business. You know what I mean? So like,
Mm.
that it's totally different world that lives in the same realm. You know what I mean? The same
Yeah.
realm of the industry.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I was just interviewing a friend of mine, and we were talking about the concept of sometimes somebody's really good at making chili or a cake or whatever, and then people will be
Mm-hmm.
like, "You should start a cake business," but then they're not a business person, so it's like, no, they're good at making chili, but they really don't need to start a business because that's a whole different thing. But
Mm-hmm.
then with your situation, it is a situation where the technician has to also be a business person just because of the nature of the beast, and you have to do all of these. Is there a book that you would recommend, or anything where it's like just keeping track of? Because for me, I went to business school, but I got into acting as quick as I could because it's like that I'm so bad at, like, my brother was making fun of me the other day. He's like, "You went to business school, but you can't even do long division." And it's kind of like that. Like,
Yeah.
don't ask me to
Yeah.
do long division.
Yeah.
And how do you the nuts and bolts, like logistics of it, has there been something that has helped you kind of think through and figure that out?
Yeah, I mean, sure. So as far as a book goes, I can't necessarily think of a book, but I can think of, and this will make sense in a minute. There is a book that I suggest if you're going to get into voiceover, you should get, and it's Voiceover Legal, and that's just like it's written by a lawyer who is also a voice actor who knows what the industry is like, and it definitely lays out everything you should be aware of in order to protect your voice, your intellectual property. So that's definitely good. But something you can look into is marketing too. That was something I didn't think I was going to have to get into, or and I don't, and in hindsight, I should have thought about it, but it was about a year or two in, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should be marketing my services and stuff like that. So that's something I had to learn. And there are voice actors who teach marketing, and there's multiple of them out there. And if anyone had recommend, I can recommend people if needed be. But I will say the thing that helped me the most is joining a community, like finding a community of voice actors. You know what I mean? And it's kind of, and it makes sense now. And again, at first I was like, I wasn't like opposed to it, but I didn't. My first thought when I started doing voiceover was just audition, 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 hope I book, hope I book. I never once was like, I need to find other voice actors and get in with them. I don't know why. That's just not where my head went, but it makes sense because again, you and I come from a community of actors, you know what I mean? And we get along good. Like, we also, that's how we hear of other opportunities too. Like you've given me opportunities multiple times, like, oh, hey, we're doing this independent thing. Let's get Jacob to come do like a little shout in it or whatever. I mean, like that kind of stuff. That same kind of stuff happens in the voiceover community, but it also, they can point you in the right direction too, whether you're looking for coaching or again, good marketers or something along those lines. I will say what helped me the most is jumping into a community. I mean, I am in a small, what do you call it? Accountability group with three other guys. And like that's like our water cooler, right? Like and I I'm on Facebook every day, but only because I have that group chat there with them. It's like it's one of the windows I pull up with my daily stuff along with my work emails and stuff like that. But yeah, we're constantly in a Facebook group chat. We're talking about jobs that are coming through. Like I've seen, there'll be jobs that come through that we know fit our friend Troy, who he's got this really great like Tennessee country accent. He's actually the current voice for Cotton Patch Cafe in Texas. Maybe the surrounding states if you have them, but if you hear anything Cotton Patch, it's my friend Troy. And we'll see auditions that come through that call for this accent that he may not see right away. And we're like, Troy, there's this audition, make sure you go hit it or whatever. Or they've told me about things like, Jake, this spot coming from this agency, that's totally you or whatever, and just like we're always looking out for each other. And then we're always, we bring people who ask us about being in voiceover. They start sending us their samples, and I'll bring those samples to the group and get their feedback too. And we just try to give back to people as well. And I think that positivity and being in there, having that support group is really what bolstered me the most in as far as voiceover and giving me the confidence to keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there have been some
Oh
tough
man.
times for sure.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Community is so important. I totally get what you're saying and agree 100%. Because like thinking about acting and the time at Nancy's class or the time at the theater, it's like there's the only way to get better is to do it. It's like
Hmm.
you can't just magically get better at these things. It's you get better in the doing of it and doing it in that atmosphere where it's okay to fail. Everybody is supportive. It's so important. So I love that community aspect. Let me ask you this, just from a technical level. I remember the tension of like being in film acting class, which was so amazing. I'm going to have Nancy on the podcast, by the
Oh,
way. It's
great.
good.
That's
Yeah.
gonna be excellent.
I,
Yeah,
I can't wait
I bet. I
to
bet
talk to her. I
that's gonna be a
can't
great
wait.
episode.
I can't wait to talk to her. But I remember being in there, growing up as a jokester or whatever, and thinking that's what I had to be interesting is to be goofy or whatever. And then
Hmm.
being in her class, like you're interesting if you don't do anything, just be yourself. Like just do nothing. Don't try to be interesting. You are interesting. And that
Hmm.
was like mind blowing to me. It's like, oh, I don't have to. I just am. And then it's like do nothing, less, less, less when you're on camera. And then you go to theater, and it's like more,
Do
more,
everything.
more, more, more,
Yeah.
bigger, bigger, bigger. And so I'm like, oh, because it's two different worlds and there is some crossover, but there's definitely some major differences. So all of that being said, is there something technical with voiceover that you would put in that category where it's like, film is like less, do nothing, do less, theater, bigger, bigger, bigger. Is there anything with voice? Because I loved what you did. I listened to a couple of your commercials, and I could still tell it was you in both of them, and I don't know the lingo properly, but it's like your voice was on a different octave or something. It was higher in one and lower in the other, but it both sounded completely natural, and I could tell that both were you.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of amazing.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, can I ask you just maybe to help me give me a little perspective? Which ones did you listen to?
Yeah, I was listening to the Sonic one,
Okay.
and then the Marcos one. The Marcos one, you're just more like deep.
The recent one, correct? Like
The one
America's favorite pizza?
the one that's on your website.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay, so yeah. Um I will say this, and you kind of already said it. The one thing to keep in mind when doing any genre of voiceover is be yourself, right? Like and be yourself within a realm of like reality essentially. Like kind of like what you said, like where they both sounded like you, like totally you, believable, you know? But because there's a misconception that when you do voiceover, you got to go in there and just like you have a great voice and you talk like this and everything you say is overly enunciated, you know, and that's just not it. It is more along the lines of kind of what you're talking about with acting classes. Actually, less is more. Now there you do have to think about certain things because especially if you're doing radio, like if you're doing like a commercial, like Rocket Mortgage or Sonic, there's visuals, right? So your voice isn't in a lot of the visual stuff. Your voice isn't really the star. You know what I mean? Like you're there. You're kind of like you're like an accessory to the whole thing, you know, like you're a really nice side dish to the whole plate kind of thing. In a lot of things. Now, there are things that differ, but you know, you try to keep it real. Like the two you did listen to were more so on the side of promo and announcery and stuff. And when it comes to that, I really think you just have to have a grasp of just like what you're talking about and the like what your role is. I mean, like in that Sonic one, clearly an announcer. Like I'm telling you about the Smasher Burger, man. You know, so like and they do want it to sound kind of cool or whatever. So like, how do you talk to your friends if you're hyped up, dude? You got to try the burger because it's so good. It's got melty cheese, tangy sauce. We got a masterpiece on our hand. You know what I mean? Like so, like you you kind of there's a lot of natural you have to have a lot of natural ability in my opinion to do anything in the realm of acting and creating but I'm not saying it can't be learned. It's just it might be tougher for those people that don't find it naturally but again it's you just got to know what your role is and bring yourself to that role in order to do voiceover successfully in my opinion, you know. um and that sometimes that is more serious, you know. I've done serious ones where like I'm playing the family friend who's letting you know that it's okay to come to us for help. You know what I mean? Like, and you bring it down here. You know, it's just like you got to know your role. And I feel like I'm repeating myself. You got to just know your role in each spot, so it differs from spot to spot. But the biggest thing is just bring yourself to it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Do you ever call like Marcos or Sonic and do the commercial on the phone to whoever
No.
answers?
No. You know what?
I would so do that. I would so do that.
I say I have to get better about this. Like I'm definitely not shy about talking about voiceover with other people. I would definitely never go into a Marco's and be getting him pizza and be like, you know, I do the commercials for the. Yeah, no, I could never do that. Maybe if I was 15 again, I bet I would. If I was 15, I bet he would, but 35-year-old Jacob would not. But anyway, um, but
Well,
no,
so let me ask you
okay,
that. So that brings up a really interesting point that I've can be so difficult about this industry just in general is like we've all been around those people who are clearly not humble, and it's like
right.
it's exhausting. And I mean, not that I am humble, I'm not saying that, but there obviously humility is necessary in this industry because you're constantly, I don't even want to use the word failing, but you're constantly auditioning, and the percentages are definitely skewed towards the ones you don't get, right? And just
Hmm.
having that confidence to keep going, but the humility. How, in an industry that is like inherently self-promoting in order to be self-sustaining, right? Like
Hmm.
you have to promote yourself. Like your website is amazing, your video, it's so you
Oh,
can't,
thanks.
you're welcome. Like you can't not talk about yourself. You have to.
Yeah.
But it's difficult because you do want to be humble and not just be walking around promoting yourself all the time too. So what do you think about that? Like how should we think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, from my perspective, it's like you're right. It does seem like a lot of successful people are the ones that are doing this self promotion, and I again because I'm more so focusing on commercials. Like I've tried a little bit of animation stuff. It's not really scratching. a niche for me, so I'm not really pursuing it right now. That might change. I mean, I might have some friends who are like maybe just working on a project sometime, and they might hit me up for something, and that might change it for me just because I know I'll be working with cool people. But it's not something that I'm like into at the moment, and I don't feel confident in my abilities in terms of doing the animation stuff. But that being said, as doing commercial stuff, I don't have to market myself so much. It is nice that I have stuff that on Instagram or a website that you can go to and see my stuff, but I don't necessarily have to push it out there. Like, I mean, like I even feel weird posting stuff on LinkedIn, like saying, "Hey, look at this job." And a lot of times when I'm doing it on Facebook, I do it so my family can see it, and obviously my friends can see it too, and but I do feel weird every time I press like submit a post with like a job on there. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm proud of the job, I'm happy I got it, but I
But I'm glad. See, I'm your friend, and because I've known you for so long, watching your acting journey. Like when I see it, I love it when you post it.
oh well,
I,
that's very kind.
I don't like just being honest with you. I don't take it as, oh, Jake's promoting himself. Like I want you to post it. I want to see it because I may have not even seen it if you wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
posted it. So
Right.
like I'm so proud of you and excited when you post a commercial that you voice because I'm
Thank
thinking,
you.
man, I remember back when we were in Nancy's class and if there would be a down moment, don't get mad at me. You know what I'm gonna say.
I think so.
Yeah, you
Do
would do the
that.
cricket
Yeah, I'll
noise.
do it. Yep.
Can you do it?
Yeah, I don't know if that came through very
I'm
well.
sorry. No.
That's funny. Let me see. Yeah, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, that was good. I know, and I would get in trouble by Nancy, which I don't blame her. You know what? And that's so funny as far as acting class goes. I was just not disciplined enough at the time to be in that class. Like, I mean, like I'm glad I was in the class, and I'm glad I got to meet Nancy and a lot of the great people that were in our class. I'm always watching out for them when they're doing stuff and whatnot too. And I'm so happy to see Nancy do stuff. Like I was watching Better Call Saul a couple years ago, and there she is, I think it's season 4, episode 3. It was amazing. Or season 5, episode 3, I think actually. Seeing her as the judge, and she got to be in a scene with Rhea Seehorn, like one of the biggest stars of that show. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm getting off topic, but which is really easy with you and me. But anyway, uh, gosh, what was the question? Or
I
just
don't
remaining
remember.
humble. Okay, just remaining. Yeah,
Oh
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
remaining
yeah,
humble
yeah,
and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I mean, like in person, I try not to like. I try not to bring it up myself. If someone asks me about it or they ask what I do, I'll tell them. But I mean, I remember a couple years ago, I was with my dad, and we were out on a trip, and we were in Colorado Springs somewhere, and we were going on this like mountain tour, I think. And the guy was like, "So what do you do?" And I just kind of like shut down for a minute because I was like, I don't want to be like, "Oh, I'm a voice actor," you know what I mean? And then like, because I don't know. And so my dad was like, "Tell him," and I was like, I provide voiceover for like corporate narration commercials and e-learning. And I just remember, and my dad was like, "Why are you so like shy about that?" I was like, "Dad, I don't know. It just the way it sounds to me, like, oh, I'm a voice actor, like be impressed and stuff." And again, there might have been a time like when I was younger for sure where I would have just owned the crap out of that. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I do this or whatever, and would have probably wanted it to be more along the lines of like, oh, that's so cool. You're so cool, blah blah blah. But now I think just being an adult and thinking about my younger self being that way, I'm very much so like I'll talk about it if we get there organically. But I definitely am trying to. I try not to bring it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of talking to your younger self, if somebody's wanting to get into voiceover, um, what would you say to them? And then what would you say is some dumb advice or wrong advice that they'll probably get, but that they should ignore?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and if somebody's wanting to get started.
Yeah, if you want to get started in voiceover, do it. Just start, do it. Because here's the thing, like if you start doing voiceover today and you decide to keep doing it a little bit every day or just maybe set aside a time every week, the next thing you know a year's going to go by and you've been doing voiceover for a year, right? And but you really have to want to do it. So if you're going to do it, but I definitely recommend do your research. I would get into any kind of groups you can. I mean, like I'm going to use Facebook as an example just because that's where all the groups I know are on. Vet the group, make sure the group seems cool. There are a lot of cool people. There are way more cool people in voiceover than there are way uncool people in voiceover. You know what I mean? Like everyone in the voiceover community is really cool, and if you're not really cool, you kind of everyone knows who you are pretty quick, and it's like, okay, well, just forget that person. I mean, like, they don't go actively out of their way to put those people down, but we don't have time for people that are not gonna help. You know what I mean? But do your research. I would say start with you definitely want to get coaching, but I would say start with workshops. Go into voiceover workshops because in workshops you get to watch. Workshops can be anywhere between like 5 to 10, maybe even bigger people. And you get to learn collectively. Other people might have questions that you wouldn't think of that you get to be present for. A lot of these workshops, you'll get to do, one or two reads of any kind of script, whether that be, commercial, animation, something like that. And on top of you getting your opportunity to read and get feedback, you can hear other people read and get feedback. And you should pay attention to that. So workshops, I definitely think are a great place to decide if voiceover is for you. Workshops can also point you in the right direction of good coaches, a good, person to, get a professional demo done with when you're ready for that. But the biggest thing is, yeah, for me, the big three are do it, just start it, do your research, and get into workshops. And then workshops will definitely point you in the right direction after that. What was your other question after that?
No,
Goodness.
that's awesome. Well, somebody just getting in, what's going to be something
Oh
possibly
yeah.
that they're going to be told that's dumb advice that they should ignore?
Um, that's hard to say. Well, first of all, if anyone ever tells you you have a great voice, you should do voiceover, that's great. But I want to let you know that everybody that's in voiceover has been told you have a great voice, you should do voiceover. But that being said, that doesn't mean you can't. That doesn't mean you can't. But anyway, just dumb advice is thinking that you need to cut a demo right away. You want to work with a coach who will tell you when you're ready to cut a demo. And some coaches do cut demos, but I would never get into any program that says we're going to teach you how to voiceover, then we're going to cut you a demo. I would just purely want a coach just to get better and get to the point where your coach, who again will tell you when you're ready, uh, tells you that you're ready to cut a demo and that you're ready to start auditioning. Because if you just jump into it too early, not having really any idea of what you're doing, you're not going to get anywhere fast because you're going to start putting your name out there with something that's not ready. And I'm not necessarily saying people are going to remember you, but they could remember you, and it would be just that much harder to get over that hill. So don't ever like join anything that is like, okay, we're going to make you demo ready. No, they just want to make you like comfortable with yourself. What coaches are really doing is teaching you how to be comfortable with yourself and to unlock the ability to just let go and be yourself in every situation that a script could ask you to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man, that's so good. Jake, thank you so much, man. Where can we follow you? What's your website, or what's the best way to contact you, follow you, all of that?
Well, sure. Yeah. No, if you want to reach out to me, my website is www. I mean, I think everyone knows it's www. That's jakesvoice.com, spelled just like it sounds. There is a contact page on there. You could also go to my Instagram, which is That's Jake's Voice. You could message me there or comment on one of my videos or something. Yeah, but That's Jake's Voice is pretty much everything. If you Google that, it will take you right to me.
That's awesome, man. And before we leave, can you leave us with one word of encouragement?
Yeah, uh, trust the process. Put in the work. Don't trust and just not do the work. Do your part too, and the process will come along with you. It may not be on your time, but it'll be on the time that's right.
Oh, Jake Sanders, my man.
My man, Chad. Some men were born to live at ease, doing what they
Doing what
please.
they please, richer than the beat. Yeah.
Bees are
Oh
in
no.
honey. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Oh man, I
No,
love
I
that.
hope I love it too, man, and I love you, and I hope, and don't worry if you can't, but if you are able to get away for Legally Blonde, man, it'd be great to see you.
Oh, I would love that. Thanks so much for spending time with me, Jake.
Thank you, man. It was an honor.
See you.
See ya.